Vicky runs a camping channel. Her videos are about the quiet side of the outdoors. Remote locations, still water, nights spent far from anyone else. In this particular video, she and her friend Amy headed out to a peaceful spot near a lake in the Snowdonia region of Wales. The plan was simple: find somewhere beautiful, spend the night, and enjoy the silence.
Here's where we're going. So we think we found quite a little quiet lake spot for tonight. It's near Llyn and that little busy area. And yeah, so hopefully think I've been quite clever in where we've parked and how we found it. And I'm thinking we're going to be fairly alone tonight. So that's always good in Snowdonia in September. See that little dot up there? That's Amy at the top of the hill. And here's me back at the bottom. Because why? We forgot the water filter. And we realised when we was right at the top. It doesn't look that steep from here, but I promise you, I promise, it's steep. Tiny little Vic.
The hike in was long, including one frustrating trip back down the hill after they forgot their water filter. But they eventually made it to Llyn and found the spot they had been looking for.
So here we are at Llyn, beep, and don't know what this is. They've covered up the car park, which is here. There's no longer access to the world's most perfect car camping or van spot ever. Meanies. But yeah, here's our location. Very flat ground over there. I mean, we might camp there, or we might find some around there.
Flat ground beside a quiet lake with everything they had hoped for. They pitched their camp, settled in for the evening, and let the night come to them. A flock of sheep drifted past the campsite at one point, grazing quietly around the lake. Peaceful, unhurried, exactly the kind of night you go camping for.
We have been greeted with these sheep everywhere.
So the sheep are now making their way around the lake in an orderly.
They went to sleep with nothing to worry about. Morning came without incident. They made coffee, packed up their gear, and made their way back down the trail toward the car. That is when everything changed.
So coming back from the car, from our camp, I have 4 flat tyres and a smashed windscreen and a smashed window, complete with rock inside.
Poor car. Are you still on hold, babe?
Yeah. I've been on the phone for 57 minutes.
For someone who didn't want us to stay here, they've made us stay here a real long time. Strange.
Trying to get rescued from this place. The breakdown people don't cover it. So on the phone with the insurance, and it's looking like it's going to be bye-bye to the car. It's going to have to get scrapped and I'm going to have to make a claim, but it's not going to be repairable apparently because of the damage, so it's probably going to be bye-bye car. So the farmers literally killed our car, murdered it. Even yesterday somebody else was parked just over there, not blocking the gate as well. Another local person walking to the lake. There was no gate access blocked at all. He saw us probably, I guess yesterday, when he came in, heard the sheep. I guess really hates wild campers, because it's not like we're in the way of the gate, so what other reason could it be?
No, nothing was stolen from the...
All 4 tires had been slashed. The windscreen was completely shattered. A heavy rock had been thrown through the driver's side window. Nothing inside had been taken. This was not opportunistic. Whoever did this had gone out of their way to cause as much damage as possible, and then left without taking a single thing. A dry patch on the ground, roughly a meter long, suggested a quad bike had been there recently. Whoever was responsible had not been gone long when the girls arrived back. They may have just missed them. The most likely explanation was a hostile local landowner who didn't want anyone parking near their property, even though the car wasn't blocking the gate. The damage was so extensive the vehicle couldn't be repaired and had to be written off entirely. Vicky and Amy spent the better part of the day on the phone with insurance and breakdown services trying to figure out how to get rescued from a remote mountain location with a destroyed car. At least they were safe. Whatever anger drove someone to destroy that car in the middle of the night, it stopped at the vehicle. And that in the end is the only thing that matters. When parking at remote rural trailheads, ensure your vehicle is completely clear of agricultural access routes, livestock gates, and private property boundaries to prevent territorial backlash. Install a hardwired dual-lens dash cam with a low-power parking mode that triggers automatic recording based on motion or physical vibration, allowing you to capture faces, license plates, or distinct vehicles in total darkness. This video comes from a channel called Trail and Flow. The creator arrived late at night at an entirely vacant, unlit backcountry campsite with his dog, Moose. The moment he stepped out of the vehicle, something felt wrong. Not wrong in a way he could point to or explain, just wrong. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up despite nothing being immediately visible in the darkness around him. Then, Moose reacted. The dog locked his gaze onto the thick, pitch-black brush at the edge of the clearing and started letting out low, deliberate warning growls. Not playful, not curious, the kind of growling that tells you the animal has registered something real in the dark that you simply cannot detect yourself. The creator paid attention.
Without a doubt, the creepiest campsite we've been to. After arriving late to the campsite, there was nobody else there. It was very quiet, but for some reason, I just had the hairs standing up on the back of my neck, and the dog was constantly growling at different things, and heaps of animals in the surrounding nature. Not usually a scary thing, but just for some reason, this particular camp spot at this time of night just really put the wind up me.
He didn't push forward, didn't try to set up camp and hope for the best. He left. It is honestly pretty hard to argue with that decision. A dog's senses operate in an entirely different range to a human's. What looks like empty darkness to us can be a very different picture to an animal that can hear and smell things we cannot register at all. Whatever Moose had locked onto in that brush, it was enough to make an experienced outdoorsman abandon the site without hesitation. Never ignores or domesticate a guard animal's sudden fixation on the darkness. CJ Faison is a YouTuber and explorer with a history of going places most people have the good sense to avoid. Haunted mines, forgotten ghost towns, locations with reputations that most sensible people treat as a warning rather than an invitation. But this particular night, he wasn't chasing anything paranormal specifically. He was camping alone in the Pocomoke Forest in Maryland, 18,000 acres of dense, unbroken woodland with a history that locals have been uneasy about for generations. Tales of decapitation, wandering spirits, mysterious balls of fire that hover between the trees and then vanish without a trace. The video starts at an old cemetery on the fringe of the forest.
If you all saw a previous video of mine, this area behind me looks really familiar. This is actually the side of the Pocomoke Forest.
CJ is exploring the headstones, getting familiar with the area, when gunshots ring out somewhere nearby.
This cemetery right here was one that myself...
Not distant either, close enough to be concerning. He keeps moving, pushes deeper into the woods, and eventually finds a remote spot to pitch his tent away from the cemetery and away from wherever those shots had come from.
Again, I wanted to go to somewhere like super remote, so as you can see, there's a nice little area around me. I walked for probably about 40 minutes or so, and I'm going to show you kind of
After dark, he spotted something, a light in the distance moving through the trees. He cut his own torch immediately so as not to give away his position and watched.
This is kind of weird. It's kind of been a standoff. I've had my lights off ever since I first saw a flash towards my way. Oh, fuck. I'm gonna fucking die tonight. Oh God. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Oh shit. I'm gonna fucking stab the person.
The figure carrying the light was strangely tall and unusually thin, tracking slowly through the woodland in a way that didn't feel like someone out for an evening walk. CJ stayed still and quiet, watching from the dark, not entirely sure what he was looking at or whether it had already seen him. Then a sudden, heavy snapping sound erupted from somewhere close by. Then a sudden, heavy snapping sound erupted from somewhere close by, branches breaking under real weight, close to where he was standing. That was enough. He retreated to his tent and tried to settle in for the night.
Oh, jeez.
He eventually attempted to use a spirit box to make sense of what was happening around him. Something hit the side of the tent, hard, from the outside. Not wind, not a branch falling, something deliberate, making direct contact with the nylon wall of his shelter. And after that came the footsteps, heavy, unhurried, moving around the outside of the tent in the dark. He lay there, listening to them for what felt like most of the night, unable to see anything, unable to confirm what was out there, just waiting for the sound to stop.
But I don't even know if there's anything on the footage, but I heard something just a little earlier, and it almost sounded like I don't know how, like, you know, like antlers like climb together. It almost sounded like two deer like fighting with each other.
By the time morning arrived, he was ready to get out of those woods and not come back. Here's the thing about a nylon tent in a situation like that, though. When you are actively trying to avoid an unknown individual who has already demonstrated they know where you are, a tent becomes a tactical trap. It blinds your vision completely while making your exact silhouette visible to anyone outside the moment you use a light inside. The safer move is to abandon the structure entirely, move quietly into the dark underbrush away from the campsite to gain a visual advantage, and prepare a defensive position where you can monitor your tent from a distance until dawn. Christine runs a channel called Nomad Unknown. After a few difficult days living out of her van, she decided an overnight backpacking trip in the Deep South might help. She had no idea what she was walking into.
So I'm sitting outside my car, outside my home, at a trailhead, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I have it in me to go on a backpacking trip. I planned to do this backpacking trip and I wanted to do a ton of miles and really push myself, but I think I am gonna go because it feels really nice to be outside, but I think I'm just gonna do a handful of miles or something, set up my tent someplace, and just kind of take it easy on myself, because sometimes just doing a little bit is all you can ask of yourself.
The sun was already past its peak when she started her hike on the wild azalea trail with several miles ahead of her and daylight slowly fading. About a mile in, she crossed paths with 3 young men who pointed her toward a potential camping spot near a water crossing. Friendly enough.
But the men I ran into earlier, I was picking their brains about camp spots because I have this trail downloaded on All Trails, but I haven't seen much information or indication of camps. Obviously, it's backpacking trails, so they're going to be out here, but they indicated that there's probably going to be some near the water crossings. Didn't really give me any specifics. I'm sure I'll find them, and yeah, by the water crossing is where I'm kind of expecting to see them.
But as they walked away, Christine was now truly alone with no cell service for miles. That's when she started noticing the same man repeatedly.
You ever just come across somebody and the energy is just off? That is what's been happening to me a little bit today. I'm about 3 miles in and I found this spot that I would really love to camp. But just as I was getting here, I saw somebody that I've seen twice already today. The first time I saw him, he only had a water bottle in his hand, no backpack or anything. And I saw him at the trailhead where I parked my car as I was still pulling things out of my car. And at that point, as soon as he saw me, he sort of turned around and headed back onto the trail. I've seen him 4 times, I just realized. And then I saw him as I was hiking. I had started with my pack up the trail, and he came from behind me, still with just the water bottle. And I didn't hear him at first, but it kind of startled me a little bit. So I moved over to let him go past, and that time was the first time I said, "Oh, hello." And he just said, "Hi." The next time I saw him, he was at a crossroads, and it looked like he was loading things into his car to leave. But I guess he was pulling a backpack out, because even though I didn't say anything to him at that point, I literally just got across this bridge that's behind me, and it was filming some of the wild azaleas. And there he came from behind me again, this time with the backpack on, like an overnight backpack. There's nothing concrete that's wrong with any of that, but it's the feeling of it. But something about the energy of this particular individual has me on edge a bit. So I was just at the point where I had seen this place and decided I wanted to camp here. And he passed me on the trail, and I was stopped, and I just stood there by the flowers, like filming them. And then I think he was out of sight by the time I came over here, but I haven't set anything up yet. I just set my pack down, and I've just been hanging out, just trying to get a feel for the place and make sure that he's not around anymore. This is probably just paranoia, but one of the ways that I stay safe, the primary way that I stay safe, is by responding to these instincts. It's not too late for me to go back to the car.
The first time she spotted him at the trailhead, he had nothing but a water bottle. No backpack, no gear. The second time he appeared from behind her on the trail, still just the water bottle. The third time he seemed to be loading things into a car at the crossroads. The fourth time he came from behind her again, this time with a full overnight pack. 4 times, always appearing behind her, always without warning. Nothing concrete was wrong with any of it, but something about the pattern sat badly with her. She stopped at a clearing she liked the look of, set her pack down, and waited to make sure he wasn't still around.
To this area that I was looking across at, you see, there's the bridge, you can see that. And then the dog house right there. I was thinking I was going to camp over there, but I looked over and I saw this area here, the clearing, and I thought, you know what, that's a bit more hidden from trail. I might feel more comfortable and secure over there, so I came over. Why is there a trail cam pointing to that campsite? I don't really know how those things work. Maybe it's not visible on the camera, but like, what else is it pointing at? Okay. The heck? Like, here's the trail cam. What is it pointing at? Putting my camera right behind. My backpack is right there.
She decided to check the area before setting up. That is when she found the trail camera. Bolted to a tree trunk at eye level, camouflaged, and aimed directly at the exact spot where a camper would pitch their tent. She could barely spot it, even knowing it was there.
That's where I was going to camp. Like, that's an established campsite. Looks like this one is too, but what the heck is going on here? I'm standing at my pack and I am looking, and I cannot for the life of me see it over there. I mean, camo, right? Very effective. Like, oh, there it is. I see it now. Okay, let's see if I can show you guys. Ooh, it's hard. Okay, maybe right here. I'm going to try to zoom even more. It's going to get really bad quality, but there it is. You can see it right there.
She packed up and hiked out before dark. Enforce a strict boundary when it comes to repeated trail encounters.
And I did, since I had the opportunity to speak to some locals, ask them about the trail cam. And if I was just being dramatic and crazy. And they said that is not normal. I was like, okay. I didn't think so. I'm not from around here. They said I should report it to the Forest Service. So that thought had already occurred to me, but I think I will indeed do that.
When she described it to locals on her way out, they told her it was not normal and she should report it to the Forest Service. If the same individual mirrors your movements multiple times while fundamentally changing their gear or appearance, treat it as active surveillance and abort your route. Before setting up camp in any designated clearing, conduct a systematic sweep of the surrounding trees with a bright flashlight beam to look for the distinct optical reflection of a hidden camera lens. Camper Vibe is a popular YouTube channel with over 110,000 subscribers built around camping content and van life adventures. The creator is an experienced solo female camper who rarely gets spooked. She has done enough remote wild camping trips to know the difference between an overactive imagination and something genuinely worth paying attention to. But when she decided to spend 48 hours completely alone inside the Daring Woods in Pluckley, Kent, even she found the atmosphere difficult to shake. The Daring Woods are known locally as the Screaming Woods. That name didn't come from nowhere. The forest has a long history of unsettling nighttime audio anomalies that have been reported for decades. Sounds that don't fit any obvious natural explanation, phantom footsteps echoing through the fog, and piercing screams that drift between the trees after dark. The local folklore runs deep. the ghost of an 18th century army colonel who took his own life somewhere in these woods, a highwayman gruesomely murdered among the trees, shadowy figures said to follow travelers between the trunks. Whether any of that is real or not, the reputation is genuine and the woods have earned it. She pitched her tent deep inside the forest, cooked steak and chips over the fire, and settled in as the evening came down around her. For a while, everything seemed normal enough, but as the night deepened, the atmosphere started to shift in ways that were harder to dismiss. Her camera began picking up sounds she couldn't immediately identify or locate.
There is a lot of noises in these woods. Where's my spoon? Sounds like kids screaming. That's just a train. Is it a bird or is it kids screaming? That's a bird. That's a gunshot. The hammock's really comfy, thank God, so I should sleep well, I would think. Where's my big bean? What was that noise? This is definitely odd.
Distant noises that ranged from what sounded like sudden gunshots to something that resembled children screaming somewhere out in the fog. She sat by the fire trying to work out what she was actually hearing. Whether it was birds, trains, animals, or something else entirely wasn't always clear. But the overlapping quality of the sounds and the heavy atmosphere of the forest made each one land differently than it would have anywhere else. By around 2 a.m., things had become genuinely unnerving. She lay in her hammock, listening to the darkness around her, her big beam torch close at hand, the sounds of the woods pressing in from all directions. Then, at 3:50 in the morning, something changed completely. A sudden, heavy structural disturbance erupted somewhere near the tent, and the entire local crow population responded at once.
What is going on?
An explosion of panicked calling that echoed through the forest canopy all around her. Not the gradual stirring of birds being disturbed by something minor. An immediate frenzied reaction, the kind that happens when something significant has entered the space around them. She lay there in total isolation in the dark, trying to determine whether what she was experiencing was a local prank, an animal, or something she genuinely needed to be concerned about. She made it through to morning, but the mystery of what caused that disturbance at 3:50 a.m. was never fully resolved. When wild camping alone in remote areas with an active reputation for trespassing or local folklore, avoid keeping a roaring campfire burning late into the night. A fire pinpoints your exact coordinates to anyone miles away while simultaneously destroying your own night vision. If an aggressive or unidentifiable disturbance occurs near your camp, immediately extinguish your light sources to force an intruder into the dark with you, grab your navigation and defense tools, and prepare to move away from the static tent structure to evaluate the threat from a hidden position. CJ Faison is a YouTuber and explorer with a history of going places most people have the good sense to avoid. Haunted mines, forgotten ghost towns, locations with bad reputations and worse histories. But in October 2024, he was trying something different. His very first solo van camping trip. No friends, no backup. And the location he picked was the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, 1 million acres of dense, unbroken forest with a long and uneasy history. And because this is New Jersey, CJ had no weapons available to bring with him. He pulled in just after dark along a sandy trail. The moment he stepped out, the ground beneath him sounded hollow, like something was buried just below the surface. Odd enough to notice, but he moved past it. The night started quietly enough, he got settled, filmed for his audience, even found moments to laugh.
That's weird. Sounds very hollow. I feel very nervous because this, like, completely solo. You're in the middle of the woods. I'm gonna get my stuff. I'm gonna go on a little bike ride here, and we're gonna go explore around together.
But the Pine Barrens have a way of not staying quiet.
Those two logs are knocked over. The two logs are actually knocked over. I know for a fact that one was standing up, and I know that I'm 99% sure that one was standing up too.
When he came back from a short bike ride, two thick logs he had stood upright before leaving were now flat on the ground. Both of them. No wind, no animals in sight. He couldn't find a reasonable explanation. Then sounds started coming from just outside camp. Then a dim red light appeared at the edge of the clearing, blinking from the brush. He went to check and found a flashlight sitting in the dirt that didn't belong to him. Switched on, but with the power toggle in the off position.
What is that? What the? What is that? Try to zoom in on my camera. Come the fuck, come on. That's somebody's flashlight. Hello? I don't even know. It was a ding or something. Somebody's out here. Obviously. A damn flashlight doesn't fall clean out of the sky. Whoa! No. Mother beat this flashlight behind you.
Then his camera batteries started draining one after another. Then a single heavy bang erupted from somewhere near the riverbank, loud enough to stop him cold.
No way. Hello? Listen, dude. Listen. If you're with me, just come out and say it.
He called out into the dark. Nothing came back. CJ made his way back to the van and stayed there for the rest of the night. By morning, everything looked undisturbed on the surface, but somehow it didn't feel that way.
Tried to break in the van that I know of, at least. I think when I fell asleep, I was just like, ow. I enjoy the van camping thing. I felt way safer than when I'm like camping in a tent, that's for sure.
When camping alone in vast, low-visibility forests where self-defense options are legally restricted, prioritize vehicular camping over nylon tents to establish a hard-sided structural shield. Deploy portable, battery-powered infrared motion tripwire alarms around your camp perimeter to give you an immediate, audible warning the moment a human or large animal crosses into your physical zone.